Hello, everyone. This is David Graham. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Code Ninjas. Today's call is going to be a little bit short. I have to go catch a flight, so I do want to let you know we'll probably end around 11:30 or so. And Marty, my usually partner in these calls, is also on a plane. We're leaving Discovery Day yesterday, so we just had a little bit of a collision of flights that were available for us. But I do want to get to some of your questions, so I'm going to cut my monologue here a little short today. I just want to talk to you briefly about what Code Ninjas is, where we came from, where we're going, and what we're seeing right now in our great business, in our fast-growing business. Code Ninjas is an after-school program for kids to learn how to code by building their own video games. It's an edutainment environment that allows kids to have fun and allows parents to see the results of their good time. We call it applied screen time. Instead of kids just zoning out on their tablets or just playing video games, they're actually using those devices to learn something. And you know, we Jedi mind trick the kids into learning something. I always say it's like baking your vegetables into a birthday cake. They think they're just getting cake, but they're actually getting a little bit good for them too. Code Ninjas was devised after my team had been teaching parents for about 4 years or so how to code and become professional developers. You know, every week we would hear from parents saying, hey, how can I get my kids involved? I really want them to start learning this. He says he wants to be a video game programmer when he grows up. He wants to make his own games now. How can I get him involved or her involved? And so really, it was really organic need. We saw the timing was right. The people and the parents in the marketplace were telling us that's what they wanted to see. And so when we left Coder Camps, we immediately went into this idea of what are we going to do about fulfilling the need for kids to learn how to code. And so we wanted to make sure that we struck the right chord in the market. We looked at what other people were doing, and it looked very academic, very sterile, very, frankly, kind of boring. We wanted to bring something to where kids would really enjoy it, where kids would want to come every single time to a Code Ninjas, because we knew that would keep parents coming back as well. Now, we can't just have a bunch of fun times without parents eventually saying, what's in it for us, you know? So we wanted to make sure that they understood what the kids were learning is on a track that, yes, it's all video games, but they're learning some, you know, real problem-solving skills, some real math, real, you know, programming skills along the way. So that's why we're building the parent portal out, giving them more and more tools to use just to keep track of where their kid is, share their kid's advancement. Every time they build a cool game, they can share it on Facebook, that kind of stuff, so that they are part of the system too. Not only that, but we give parents a really, really great lobby. We, you know, give them a comfy chair to sit in, free coffee, free Wi-Fi. So while their kid is in there having fun in the dojo, they get a little bit of pampering too. Plenty of parents tell us, hey, that's the best 55 minutes of my day. I get to, you know, put on my headphones and zone out for 55 minutes reading the news or reading a book or whatever they want to do. So it's working. We've been open almost a year in Pearland. That center is going very successfully. We've opened another 5 or 6 recently in the past month. All of our new franchisees are doing great. We haven't seen any indication that the markets that they're picking aren't the right ones. They're highly affluent suburban type areas, and to be honest, they're breaking all of our goals for them. They're really shattering all the records that we had already set, and so everything looks onward and upward from here. Briefly, let's talk about the 3 different programs that we have. We have an after-school program that uses the year-round curriculum. We have the drop-in program, which is our only required program that you have. The drop-in program is 2 days a week for 1 hour. We charge that monthly. So at Pearland, for example, we charge $225 a month for 2 times a week, 1 hour visits. Kids can come in and parents can drop them off anytime they want to. So from 3 to 7, we're really flexible around their schedule. That's why it's called the drop-in program. You just drop in when you have some time. And it's all of our curriculum is self-paced. They go through at each individual child self-paced. Everybody in the classroom is at different levels, though, so it might be white belts, yellow belts, orange belts, green belts, all in there at the same time. But what we find is the kids want to help each other. The kids want to be a part of the group, building teams and doing things that they want to do together. And it's just a lot of fun for them. So that's the basics of the drop-in. There's 9 belts. I like to say that our curriculum is complete, but it's not ever done. We're always building that, bringing it to the next level, working with both our franchisees to get feedback from their individual markets, but also adding to our offering, which is our third thing, the summer camps. And this is where we have more flexibility in what we can add and how we can bring new products to the market. The summer camps were highly successful. We had hundreds of students come through the program last summer in Pearland. Already selling new summer camps and week-long events in all of our centers that are open because moms start planning about this time of year. The summer camps are 4 or 5 different programs that we offer 1 week in 1 week short sessions over the summer. So you can do a half day or a full day. The half day is from 8 to 12, and the full day is from 8 to 4. The half day and the full day are exactly the same classroom, except the full day people stay for a few extra hours. We don't have extra teachers or new curriculum. It's just a little bit more time for them to play and have some fun together. They're all very free form. We do have it all written down, and it's all, you got a schedule and whatnot. But the main objective there is for kids to have a great time. So it's kind of like herding cats. We just, let them go in there. We give them a focused goal and then let them go and do it. And then we help them along the way. We do go over a step-by-step guide on the first couple of days, but after that, they're really taking the reins and going on their own. So it's just a lot of fun. Don't overthink those summer camps because, it's supposed to be fun and an easy win for you. So those are our basic 3 programs that we have. We do have birthday parties, of course, and we have Parents Night Out. I'd also like to announce that we're officially selling the Dojo to Go, which is a 28-foot trailer that is basically a mobile billboard for you. But inside we have 5 different 55-inch TVs, Xbox Ones, Nintendo Switches, and all the video games they could play. So for birthday party gaming events, you've got that opportunity to add on to your center, totally optionally if you want to. But it is a very unique and profit-making endeavor. We train you up on how to use that machine and that trailer and bring it to the masses. Another cool thing about the Dojo to Go is that you get the opportunity to do edutainment events. So imagine doing a drone party at a school, or going to the private schools and doing a coding session. So basically any of the summer camps you can do in a remote location within your territory. So pretty unique, pretty awesome opportunity for you there. I'm going to go ahead and turn on the Q&A because, as I said, I don't have a lot of time today. If you have any questions, the best way is to ask your question and put yourself in the queue is to raise your hand. You raise your hand by hitting *6. That *6 on your phone will put you in the queue. None of my questions here are softballs. I didn't stage any of this. So if you have a question and you want to get it answered quickly, go ahead and raise your hand by hitting *6, and I'll answer it to the best of my ability. Just to talk a little more about the Dojo to Go, we had a lot of people come back to us and say, well, there's already franchises out there that do this. Well, we looked at what they were doing, and we actually thought about, is this a brand we want to just compete individually on? And we just said, I think this is best to be a business added to what we're already doing. And so augmenting what we're doing, staying within our edutainment space, staying with our gaming thing, and then just adding another revenue line for our franchisees to make more money. Did get a few calls here in the queue, so go ahead and answer those. Hi, how you doing? Go ahead and tell me your name and where you're calling from.
Hi, this is George calling from New Jersey. My question is there an initial help from the organization in evaluating the market? Another question is, once there is a region or town kind of center is established, is there exclusivity?
Let me answer those first because I can only probably get to a couple of them today. The first is we definitely help you to isolate your territory. We have territories sold, quite a few, 123 already. So first of all, we need to make sure that your territory is still available that you'd like. Second, we'll run demographics, and we'll work with a few different partners to see territory and retail space available in your area that we think might work for us. And so the next thing, your next. What's that?
Did you say you're looking for the space, you said? Or?
We'll work with some partners to get you a list of spaces just to make sure there's any retail. We don't want you to, put a dot out in the middle of the desert. So if there's no retail or big shopping centers in that market, we just make sure that there's something. We're not going to go through the whole, hold your hand through the entire process there, but we definitely hook you up with Morrow Hill, who's our preferred vendor, and they do walk you through after you become a franchisee. They will go through that entire lease process with you. Their second thing is talking about territory and how you protect your area. That is, we go anything from half a mile all the way up to a 3 mile radius, depending on where you're at. Most people come in between 2 and 3 miles, and that means that we're not going to put anybody else within that radius. But it also means that if you have a 2 mile radius on your territory, we're not going to put one at 2.1. We don't make our territories overlap that bad, because it's not in our best interest. We don't want you guys competing for the same students. So
right.
What we do is we make sure that there's a big gap between both, and that the circles don't really overlap very much. In certain areas, it may need to overlap a little bit, but we try to limit that as much as possible. Okay?
Yes. And so I saw there are some financing options. Can you talk about that?
Sure. We work with 2 different finance partners who are going to broker your deal to different SBA loans and whatnot to make sure that you get the best loan from a bank that is possible. They'll basically take some initial financials, a credit score, and then they broker that to multiple different lenders to get you the best deal possible.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. All right, let's limit our questions to your top 2. We do have quite a few people asking questions, and I only have about 15 minutes left, so pick your top 2 questions, and we'll definitely get those answered. Hi, how are you doing? Hello? Hello, how are you doing?
Hey, how are you? So,
doing well.
I wanted to understand what is the earning potential for one center? Like, what is a range? There must be a range for each center, right?
Yeah, so what we can tell you is what's in the FDD. We can't talk about anything that alludes to revenue that's not in our federal disclosure document. If you haven't gotten that document, you need to talk with Marty or Jeff, and I'll give their information at the end of the call. But the federal government regulates how we make claims on revenue. What I can tell you is that in our first, I think we made in our first, I don't know, under 60 days, I believe, we made a little over $35,000 and had 68 students. You'll need to check the exact numbers in the FCD itself.
For 68 students, you made about $35,000, and this is including all those different things you said, like edutainment parties and all those.
We have a complete specific breakdown of that. If you'd like to see it, you need to get with Marty and Jeff. I don't have those numbers off the top of my head.
Okay, sure. And
thank you.
And just one last thing. So your model kind of encourages people to have more centers more centers is what your model is, right?
No, not necessarily. We have about half of our people only have one center. So,
okay.
Right. I would not say our model is to have people opening multiple, but that's certainly available to the right candidates, and we award those based on a number of different factors and business acumen.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Hi, how are you doing? Hello.
Hi, this is Vic.
Hi.
How are you? I had two questions. I already spoke to Marty about this before, and he gave me an explanation on the curriculum. What application is your curriculum based off? Is it, there are multiple programming languages out there. Which programming language are you guys doing it based off? And my second question is...
let me answer your first one first because I can't remember the second one sometimes.
That's fine.
So what we need, I get this question sometimes from technical people or otherwise, but most programmers can tell you that the tool that you use is a little bit, it really doesn't matter. What you need to do is you need to learn how to think, and how to program is about how to solve problems. And so what we do, we don't focus on a tool specifically. We're definitely going to be changing the tools over time to be keeping up with the times. But right now, we use JavaScript, for example, and we built our own game development portal, and it's all proprietary. But later on, I can see us moving into other languages as the need arises. What we got to do is get to the crux of the matter, right? We need to teach kids how to think, how to problem solve, how to isolate a problem, derive a solution, and work as a team member to build that solution out and implement it. So we don't focus on the minutia or getting dogmatic about some technology over another. We focus on making thought leaders and people who can really solve problems.
Okay, that's thank you for answering that. And the second question I had around was the curriculum. I was informed that the curriculum is decided by, I believe it's you, and maybe there might be somebody else. So how far has the curriculum been planned, and how often does it change, if at all there is a need to change it?
So we have quarterly updates to our curriculum that are published to the franchisees. But the curriculum is complete. It's complete from white belt to black belt. It's never done, though. We're never finished. It will never be finished. It will be an ongoing, living, breathing document, like, the Constitution or something like that. It's always changing because the world is always changing. What we need to teach the kids is always changing. We're always making it better.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for the questions. Hi, how are you?
Hey, good morning from Lawrence, Kansas.
Hi.
Hey, I had a question for you. What's the cost of the franchise? And tell me something about the population size that you're targeting.
Okay. The costs are all listed in the FDD. It's about $100,000. It's $105,000, I believe, to $212,000. That's your all-in prices with build-out and franchise fee and everything. Look to the FDD for the specific numbers because I'm certainly off a little bit. But your second question was, what was
population
it?
Size.
Population size. Yeah, we're looking for population size can vary, but really the main metro areas of major cities is what we're looking at first, obviously. But what we really looked at is, instead of a general population, is we look at the number of kids that are available and the expenditure that parents spend on their kids in that market. And so I don't want to give away the secret sauce on exactly what that looks like. If you want to see and identify a market, the best person to talk to is Marty or Jeff. But we do have a formula that lets us know that a market is going to be successful or not based on some different demographics for children 5 to 15.
Okay, thanks.
Sure.
How you doing? Is Anthony from Miami? Hello?
Hi.
Hi, Anthony from Miami.
Hi.
Question I have is on the testing of the curriculum. The concept is relatively new, but as I understand it, this is about a 3 or 4 year program. what sort of testing did you guys do to make sure that this is, engaging children from kind of day 1 to day 4? And the other question is, on one of the other calls, you had mentioned that the students can also access the system to continue to play games but not develop from home. Can you speak a little bit to what sort of access they have outside of the dojo?
Yes. So that's a great question. We're constantly updating it, so we're constantly having to test it. The first line of defense is we test it internally. We have a few different people here that test it to make sure that the code is just sound. Then we run it through a beta test group, which is our franchise, a few of our key franchisees that wanted to work on it with us, who are educators themselves. Then we run it through our center here in Pearland to make sure kids are accepting it properly. And then we roll it out to franchisees after we go through a few revisions there. So that's the basic process. And your second question was, I forget the second one every time, so sorry.
On one of the calls you had mentioned that the students have access from home where they can't necessarily develop, but they can play the games that they developed. Can you kind of explain how that works?
Sure.
And what level of access there is?
The way that works is to move forward through the curriculum, since they're all based in books in the centers themselves. They have to scan in with their wristband. Their wristband is tied to the color of the belt that they're on, so they may have a white belt, yellow belt, orange belt, green belt, and that just kind of gives them a public insignia to show off to their friends, kind of upgraded. But the scan-in is our RFID technology that opens up the curriculum within that facility for the next hour. Now they can move forward through the curriculum, through our student dojo, only when they scanned in. So if they go home and they log in at home, they haven't scanned in into their local facility, they won't be able to move forward or do anything. But they can go in and they can play the games that they've done before. They can show those off to their friends. Their parents can log into the parent portal and share that game with their friends on Facebook and otherwise. So we try to give it as much flexibility to keep the excitement up and show off with their friends and be proud of their work, but they don't get to move forward through the curriculum. Does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, I'm all right. Jeff in Delaware. What is the average turnaround time for a build-out of a facility?
Well, that's a great question. We have current turnaround is about 7 months. We feel like that's going to get reduced over the next few build-outs. We've learned a lot. Our franchisees have learned a lot. Just so that is probably going down to more like 5 or 6 months. There's a lot of things in there that are variables. You're getting the real estate located and getting it, after you locate it and you put the down payment, you sign the lease and everything like that. The next problems are going to be, usually are going to be permits. And the permit process for Shreveport, Louisiana, for example, was 3 days. The permit process for Pearland was 2 weeks. Permit process, I know in some places like Connecticut, can be up to 4 months, in New Jersey. So that's a big variable, and we work with you through that whole process.
Okay, thank you.
Sure. Hi.
Hi, this is Pete from New Jersey.
Hi.
Hey, I have a couple of questions. I'll just ask the first one first. I'm curious who you think your biggest competitor or competitors are, and specifically I was looking a little bit at Sylvan Learning Systems, and it seems like they have a very similar video game-based coding program.
Yeah, so Sylvan is a juggernaut, right? I mean, they're everywhere. They've been around for everywhere, but, one of the problems with Sylvan is I don't think it's synonymous with a fun place to go and hang out and play video game or build video games. They've had that program for 3 years before I started, and it's all based on a over-the-counter product called Tinker, by the way. It's a 6-week class, basically, using the Tinker technology. So before I started Code Ninjas, I just had my son, my 11-year-old son, just had a genuine desire to learn more about coding, and I thought, he'd gone through a lot of the stuff online, and he didn't really stay focused on it, so I wanted to find a place kind of like Code Ninjas, actually, for him to go through. I went online and I found Sylvan and what they were doing, and I said, oh, okay, they got one in Pearland. Let me go by and I printed out their flyer and brought it up there, and the lady said, we have a coding class? Oh, okay, well, let me look into that. That was the manager of the facility. And so at that point, I kind of knew this was just an add-on. This was something they just tacked on to their existing offering, and they weren't serious about it. They're not a coding school. They're a math and reading school. And so as far as what our competition is in the marketplace, I don't feel like, if Kumon wanted to come into the market, I don't think they're going to change their entire brand to suddenly be fun, right? That would be a monumental effort on their part. I think there are some competitors that are kind of doing the same thing as we are. I don't think they have a stronger brand, and they certainly aren't as big as we are right now. But I just don't see a lot of people coming into the market doing franchising the way we did, which was to set up a support infrastructure and really set up a company that was based on the idea that we're a franchisee support organization. We're not a mom and pop shop that set up a coding school and then thought all of our friends should get one too. This was set up from the beginning to be a franchise support infrastructure, and that's everything from our vendor network to our support team to Code Ninjas University to having a dedicated resource for you to call whenever you need it.
Cool. Thank you.
Does that answer your question?
Definitely. I have one other question. On the website, it mentioned that students are required to bring their own laptops or purchase one. Does that apply for birthday parties too? I mean, is that a limiting factor, not having hardware? And also, are you compatible with both PC and Apple? Is that an issue?
So we see about 10% of the students bring their own laptops from home. Most people rent one for $25 a month from our facility. We are compatible as far as the coding portion. It's all hosted in the cloud, and all we require is a Chrome browser. So we are compatible with multiple devices, but when they get to the robotics portions, they will have to have a Windows PC because the software only runs on Windows. But you can have a couple of those set up in the facility and just let them use that if you choose to, or we give you a whole range of different options. But we do recommend and use Windows devices in all of our facilities at this time.
Okay, that's great. You mentioned that you rent them out for $25 a month?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
They don't leave the facility, but that's just if they want to come in and use our laptops, that's an additional revenue source that we use.
Okay, I see. Thank you for that. Okay, thanks.
All right. This is going to have to be my last call here. Hey, how are you doing?
Hey, so this is Huzaifa again. The question I had was, so there's a mentioned age, that a minimum age has to be followed. Is that flexible? That's one question. And the second is the fee structures. I was looking online, and there's some standard fee structures that Code Ninjas prescribes. Is that fixed, or that is something the franchisee can work out?
Sure. So the minimum age is our age range is 7 to 14. The minimum age is not like a lower. It's not a hardcore lower end. We do have a few 6-year-olds, for example. The main requirement on that end is twofold. Can they sit still for 55 minutes and do something focused? You'll see that in the 30-minute free session whenever their parents bring them in. Also, they have to be able to read well because our program is self-paced. We don't want to have a 1-to-1 ratio for the 6-year-olds coming in. So those are the two requirements on the bottom end. The top end, we're never gonna age someone out. If they started at 13 years old and they want to stay in the program until black belt, we're not going to age them out just because they got over 14. But you might want to consider if they advance through the program and they stuck around with you for a few years, you're probably getting into hiring them as a sensei category. So you're kind of cultivating your own bench there for senseis coming up on the older kids.
Right. Okay.
Cool.
And then, so that covers a part of the age. The prescribed, fees for each of these.
So we do want you to stay with the monthly price and the two times a week prescription for the drop-in program. As for the summer camps and the after-school program will be a monthly fee. How that works out, we can get into those details in an offline call a little bit, but we do give you a little bit of liberty of how you execute the after-school program. As far as the summer camps go, for example, we have a half day and a full day. Some of the franchisees have started to do 2 half days, so like a morning half day and an afternoon half day. And if you want your kid to stay the whole day, then you just pay for both. So we do offer a little bit of flexibility there, but generally speaking, the structure needs to stay the same. For example, we'll never have an hourly rate, if that's what you're asking, or something like that. There's a completely different thing because that's an academics.
Yeah, because that would parent. Sorry.
That would be like an academic school, and we're not an academic school. We're an edutainment environment. People come here to have fun, and as a result, they learn something. Okay.
Right. So, I mean, from my perspective, I look at it as an after-school program is the best fit where, kids can come and spend an hour once a week, like, an English or a math class, but it is in computing. And the prices, if the franchisee owner plans to reduce the prices to kind of just be competitive, is that something you work with, or that's like there's a strict cap? Is what I wanted to kind of get.
The lower end, we have a lower end on the drop-in program of $150 a month. I think in most markets, I think you would be doing yourself a disservice for hitting the lowest end of that price range. We're seeing higher dollar amounts, but we certainly do allow you some flexibility in setting your prices for your market. But the lower end of that, because we don't want two territories that are side by side getting into a race to the bottom on pricing,
right.
And competing just purely on pricing for the same student or something, we do set a lower limit on that.
Okay, yeah, I just wanted to kind of clarify if there is any room for the franchisee owner to decide. But, of course, there has to be healthy competition. I kind of get all that. But, yeah, that answers my question. And I want Marty and Jeff, who's been mentioned so many times, I need their contact numbers or contact details.
Yep, I'm going to give that to you right now. Thanks for the call. So I appreciate you guys coming on the call today. What we like to say is that you guys are building your brand under our brand. We've been super successful at getting our brand and honing our message and bringing our tools together and training and getting people out there and opening these centers. But ultimately, we're going to tell you a step-by-step guide and paint by numbers, and then you're going to change it just to match your attitude and your way of doing things and your persona. And that's what we want. We want you to have your own little piece of the pie there and to build your own island unto itself in a way, under our bigger brand. And so we give you the tools to do that. If you haven't talked to Marty or Jeff, the best person to reach out to right now is Marty. Marty is MARTY at codeninjas.com. That's MARTY at codeninjas.com. Reach out to him. He can get you in the pipeline to talk to either Marty or Jeff, and they will take good care of you and tell you your next steps. If you already talked to them, probably the next steps you need to take is go ahead and get scheduled up for Discovery Day. Discovery Day is a great day. We just finished doing it yesterday. We had a huge crew coming out to Discovery Day. And the excitement levels, just so you know, in our organization is so high and people are beating down the door to get in. We had to move to 2 a month for the next foreseeable future. So we're actually doing, and that's after qualifying and making sure the right people are coming and really doing a pretty good filter process. That's exciting to me. That means we're doing it right. We've got the right angles. The next Discovery Day is February 22nd. There's a couple of spaces still available in that one, I believe, unless they filled it up this morning. If not, then you're going to be looking at the second Thursday in March, I believe. But talk with Marty or Jeff about that. That's definitely your next step. There are some requirements to come to Discovery Day. We don't just let everybody come, so we need to make sure you check off some of those check boxes to get in there and get invited to that event. So I appreciate your time. I know it's valuable. You've got 100 things going on, and you spent your time with me today. We do these calls every week, every Friday. And it's just another learning channel for you to get to know more about us and get your questions answered. I appreciate your time. Have a great weekend.